How to define your fear and wins. So there is this common notion, or rather a normal instinct that all of us human has to stay away from what you fear and only to go toward what you love. However, those two are not opposite, but rather they're the side of the same coin. To find what you love, you must find something that you fear and try it. And to love something, you must fear losing it. So before I get into this, if you are a young entrepreneur who are targeting business owner or targeting business brokers, especially, I have a system that can cover all of your outreach in one place and you can get client automatically. If you like the sound of that, just check out my self-serving course below and I'll basically teach you the whole step by step on how to create this system. Let me tell you a story. It was the summer of 2018 in New York. There was this boy who lived in a small white house. At home, the boy loved to bike, he loved to play video game, he loved to watch anime, all of those things. Day in and day out, the boy would just do those three things until sunset. However, one day he saw a pretty girl with blonde hairs and blue eyes. To the boys, her eye was the ocean, and seeing her every day make the boy tremble with excitement. However, he was too scared to approach her. He always think, what will she think of me? What will happen if I talk to her? And worst of all, what will happen if he fail? Scared, the boy thought, I don't need her. I got my bike, my game, my video game, and staying in that comfort zone. Month, years passed by, and never once he approached her. In his mind, he was chanting that same phrase, even when those things that he loved no longer excite him. It became his chain in his small white house. I tell you that story because that boy in that story was myself. And it was the summer of seventh grade when I felt most stuck. I fear doing what I love. And I trap myself in that same loop, just saying that I have these things in my life and I've worked so hard for it. This is all I need. And before I even know it, my days merge into weeks and weeks into months. And now, looking back on it, I don't recall one single memories that I would deem kind of memorable. All I remember was I was just doing that same daily task every day, waking up, playing game, watching anime, eat, sleep. That's all I have of those year or so. You might think, how did I remove my fear and live my life right now the way that I designed it or the way that I wanted it. I guess the simple answer to that is I did not. I did not remove my fear. I did not completely make it disappear. To me, fear is something that you can't remove. It's something that built into us all. So you might think, all we have to do is power through it, right? In the past, I guess, when I started, I did try to power through my fear and just take the step, just go and do it. But again, I had varying amount of success with the method. Sometimes I could power through in my head and I would just go through with it, did the job, and it would work. But a lot of the time, I would just have really bad thought, like, what would happen to me? What if I die or something like that? And I would just turn back and not do the thing at all, and just create more fear for myself. So no, most of the time I did not power my fear to do it. What I did is call fear planning, and I learned to through Tim Ferriss' book. Essentially, what this method is doing is that let you plan for the worst. Plan for the worst possible outcome and see what it would look like. So the first step that I typically take when I want to decide to do something is to define what you want to do, of course. And this step is easy because you should basically know what you want to do before you have fear about it. Next, you need to write down all the worst possible outcome that you could think of when you are doing this action. Next, you write down what would you do if this actually happened, or how you would fix this if it actually happened, and assuming that the worst possible outcome is not that you are dead. So lastly, what you want to write down is what you can do to prevent all of this to start unraveling and start happening. And if all you could draw up was not doing it in the first place, maybe that's a good decision. Another thing that you can do if you're drawing blanks is look at people online. See who is already in this situation. There are billions of people out there, and you can see what situation they're in and what they did to combat it. So let's take, for example, the biggest decision that I have to make in my life was to start a business. And especially when I was in school, I defined my worst possible outcome was that I made no money, I'm in debt, and I don't have a degree, so I don't have a job. I might be ending up living in the street. So now that I sound that out, that doesn't sound as bad anymore. So my worst possible outcome is just me not having a job and living on the street. That's the worst possible outcome. And how I would fix this, I wrote down. I would first, if my thing did happen, I could move back into my parent home, work for DoorDash or at McDonald's or Walmart until I make enough money and to pay off my debt first and then start something new. Or I could go back to school, borrow a loan, and live off a dorm on there, live on campus until I kind of have my money stabilized and working while I'm there. So that's the way that I would fix it and how I would prevent all of this from happening. I would first learn a high paying skill like sales or marketing and apply to a lot of job for part-time beforehand to make money while I'm trying to start my business. So something that I did was I remember the time when I started, I took up a job at uh, a pool company and I was basically the desk clerk and I only worked there for 3 days a week for a total of 4 hour a day. And during the time that I was there, I was working on that job. Whenever I finished or had the time, I would just hop on my laptop and work on my business. So this kind of prevent myself. I actually made not a lot of money on that summer, but it prevent me from going into debt as I just keep pumping my money into my business, and it would take care of me. So if my business fail, I have no job, I'll have enough money to live for the next month or so until I can find another job. So, like I said, the point of this whole video isn't for you to be completely get rid of your fear, but essentially to find a ways where you can negotiate with your fear and essentially picture out, plan it so you know what your fear look like. And now, if you apply all the step that I've teach you, your fear should look like child play. So this is what I use to start my business, making a big decision. The nearest big decision I did decide to make was going to Japan and going to Japan for 3 to 4 weeks. During that time, I would have to leave my business alone. I won't touch it. I won't touch my business when I'm going on a vacation. So I did all this step and wait the worst thing that could happen to the thing that I would experience while I'm there, and I've come up with a plan to prevent it. And essentially, I decided to take the trip. So I hope that you find all this is helpful. And like I said, try to find your fear and win. Also, lastly, if you want a fully automatic system where you can have all your outreach in one system to get all of your client, then check out my self-serving course below. But other than that, later.